So now it tells me that we are live. Welcome everyone to Woven Session Nordics number 2. My name is Alica Masanikova and I'm the project manager for Woven Network Nordics at Intercult in Stockholm, Sweden. Now, today we have a session with 3 of our artists in digital residence. And what will happen, I will briefly introduce you what Woven Network Nordics is, and I will then outline what the artists will be. And I will give them the word. So Woven Network Nordics is a European project. It is managed by Intercult and funded by the Nordic Culture Fund. It is a project that focuses on artists from 3 Nordic countries. We have artists from Sweden, Norway and Denmark. From Denmark it is Dina Buhandan. From Norway we have Brynhild Bietiller. And from Sweden we have Kasia Katarzyna Piorek and Emma Hirsk, who are representing Sweden. Now, Woven Network Nordics, it's a digital residency, and it originated as a sort of response to the COVID-19 pandemic in the past year and this year as well. What we want to do is we wanted to give quite a proper space to the selected artists to experiment with their practices. All of the artists work with socially engaged art, and they are taking their practice onto the digital realm and experimenting in a collaborative way, as well as with the various platforms and online mediums that they have at hand, which they will also be doing today. Woven Network Nordics has partners from the countries I mentioned. We have partners from Denmark. It is Nordisk Teater Laboratorium. From Norway, we have Transform Festival, Transform World Festival. From Platform 2, we have a partner, that's a Ukrainian one in Mariupol, and then we have a Scottish partner, Fable Vision Studios in Scotland. Now, what will happen today? Today, the artists will be, I am still quite in the fog about what will happen today, but the artists will be exploring their practices in the context of working as female artists under the COVID-19 pandemic. They will be questioning what they do in this format of the digital residency, and generally experimenting with the platform at hand, that is Zoom in this case. They will be, after my introduction, I will give them the word and they will be doing their thing for about half an hour, a bit longer, and after that we will open this session to you, to the audience. How that works is that we are streaming this now on Intercult's and Woven Network's Facebook page. So if you have any question or a comment or an observation that you would like to ask the artists or let the artists know about, you just write it in the live stream and then we will read it to them and they shall react to it accordingly. This Woven session is called Inside Outside. And why is that? Is because the artists will be also looking at the difference between private and public space in one way or another. I think that's about that from me. I hope that you will enjoy the session. I just want to add that in the coming months, we will be having more of these sessions that the artists are super excited about, obviously. So I encourage you to follow us on the social media and see what we come up with. There will also be a webinar with our partners from Scotland, most likely in the autumn, and the project results with an exhibition, a digital exhibition. So there will be something we will inform you about. That's all from me. Have fun. I will be back at the end of the session and the artists now have the stage.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Emma Hursk. We have set this session up to kind of chat a little bit to begin with about our individual practices and what it means to talk about inside outside practices for each of us individually. So, the theme for this second woven session, Woven Network Nordic woven session, came about from kind of artist meetings and discussions on artist practices. We meet quite a lot, we talk quite a lot, we have discussions, we have presentations, and then that leads up to these kind of woven sessions every month or so, they should be. But the discussions that we have are specifically towards female artist practices that for us are interconnected with many other aspects of our lived realities, commitments, caring responsibilities, and curiosities in other areas. For us, everything is connected. In my own work, I weave together kind of female lived experience, macro histories, temporality, touch, and memory to kind of reconsider the relationship, the fundamental relationship we have with our human bodies, really, and how that is in kind of inside space and outside space. So this kind of reads on many levels. The expanded definition of space includes the spheres in which the body breathes, exists, and moves as a way to correlate real and imagined landscapes and inner and outer worlds. So there was a lot to do with interiority and exteriority that we discussed in these sessions. It's this idea actually of inner and outer worlds, and that kind of dichotomy of interconnectedness and separation, public and private, artist and personal lives, that kind of repeatedly come up as a focal point for many of the discussions that we had. Let's see if we can just escape from that. And let's move into another image that we're going to share. So bear with me with Zoom. Let's have a look. Okay. So we need to play that. Okay. Yeah, the inner and outer worlds. It's the overlapping that happens, not wholly, but in very specific ways, I think, for female artists. That is the departure point, and I think, and the foundation of this woven session, really. And even at that, it's probably the departure point for a lot of the things we talk about as part of this digital residency, for the whole Woven Network Nordic digital residency. We have asked a lot of questions in our discussions, in our meetings, in our presentations. Like, what and where are the edges of our artist practice? Where is the inside and the outside? How do we work, and where do we work? I mean, Virginia Woolf said about A Room of One's Own in 1929 that she argues for a literal, a figurative, and imaginative space for women to be able to create a space that's kind of a space that's a creative space. And it could be a studio, it could be a study, it could be a spare room, it could be a kitchen table, like I'm working at the moment. But it means that my inside is the sculptural practice where I make the sculpture, and then I take that outside into the outside space, into the environment, into urban spaces, and connect with different kinds of ecologies, really. What are the other things that we do? Why do we keep these things separate or hidden? Is it a privacy issue? Is it that it is relevant? Is it maybe out of our comfort zone? Is it approval? Do we feel like some of these other things maybe, are a little bit more unusual, a little bit more quirky, or different sets of curiosities? And how do we communicate this connection? Do we want to communicate this connection, or do we have time not to do that? I mean, is it something that we really have the time to avoid doing, is what I'm asking. How do we capture the passing of time of those that we care about? And as a document before loss, which is a point that we've all been discussing. Has our practice changed in COVID pandemic, and how can we find strategies to socially engage? We all have socially engaged practices, but how do we go about doing that? We talked about lots of questions and we answered the questions with more questions. And that's just how this has developed, and this is how the residency has developed. We spoke of our many different roles, the projects, our cultures, our lives. We've rearranged meetings and schedules for each of our commitments, but this is how we work. Around time, we work around time. We work around care and responsibilities. We work around trust and an understanding of each other's kind of idiosyncratic artist lives, because even within our own practices, it's very different, very diverse. In my own work as an artist and a mother and an educator, this interconnectedness of spatial, material, maternal, and feminist knowledges is woven with socially engaged choreographies to activate public space and open a dialogue around the gender, agency, autonomy, and freedoms of those spaces. So to me, I have an inside and an outside practice in that way. With the body as a site for knowledge production, I engage sculptural, photographic, film processes to reposition sculpture as socio-spatial practice and give an augmented and embodied kind of connotation of being female in the world. These are just some of the issues that we have discussed. Let's see. And the solutions that we've come up with. I'm still going to find it. Let's see. And I'm going to leave it with some images, some footage of some of the spaces in between art and life and work. I think when we talk about time, when we talk about care, when we talk about trust, they're the between times. You know, life is what happens when you're doing other things. And the spaces between my work, the different kinds of roles that I play, are kind of transportive in the sense that they're spent in the car quite a lot of the time, traveling between these places, traveling between my responsibilities in a literal and a real, very real way. And now I'm going to hand over to one of my other artist colleagues for her presentation. Kasia?
Yes. Okay. My name is Kasia Piurek, and I spend a lot of time on the bike, not like Emma in the car. And instead of talking, I thought like I can show some. I prepare some short film, which is still in progress, kind of work in progress. But this is the easiest for me to talk about things which I'm discussing with girls here with the picture instead of talking with the words. So that's why I will share the screen now and then show you a short movie. And I won't talk. I would not talk much. Okay. Yes, that was the film, and it was not so much. I won't talk much, but I will let Bernhild to show her presentation.
So my name is Brynhild Tiller from Trondheim, Norway, and I have prepared a text about maybe sort of private and public. I work with photography, that could be private, and I work with participation, that could be public, and I go between. So I have a long history with photography, from analog photography, Polaroids, Kodachrome, color slides, contact print, superimposing negatives, light experiments, photography transferred on canvas, overlaid with acrylics and charcoal, to digital color photography, and visual storytelling in a photo-based social art practice. So from a purely formalistic approach to a social and documentary approach. My photography and my life go hand in hand. Photography has guided my choices in life, where I go, what I see, and how I connect with people. Taking photographs and talking to people has become a way of investigating art. Photography becomes a way to take a stance towards reality, to find a way to see things more clearly through the camera lens, to see the ones who deserves attention, to give a voice to those who are not heard, to tell stories about someone or a social issue. Can it make the world a better and fairer place for us all? Highlighting skills based on gender, focusing on migration through stories about women, refugees, asylum seekers, women in health and care work, women working in kindergarten, and cleaning workers. This is Gadir from Palestine. She's a football player and a football pioneer. Today, she's a football trainer for boys and girls and a football referee. She's also a scout, hence the uniform. She works at a local pharmacy in Ramallah. As a pioneer, Gadir has fought a long battle and still is fighting for women's rights and young girls' rights to participate in football in Palestine. How do I build trust? How do I get access? How do I create instant intimacy? How do I handle issues like authenticity in portraits, ethical issues, layers of meaning in one single frame, and order of pictures in series? To find some answers along the way, I started to work directly with members of the public. I invite people to participate, to become participants. I teach them how to express themselves through photography. Workshop as a method also allows illiterate participants to participate. I build relationships with those I photograph. I participate directly in an environment. In science, this is called participatory observation. How can I engage with participants or a community in a useful way? What does it mean to engage with others in an art project? What happens when people in front of the camera moves behind the camera and becomes co-producers of artistic work? Do participants have real influence, or is it a pseudo influence? How to take care of natural growth while maintaining a space for aesthetic decisions? There's an element of visual activism in this. This is Beleset Hadush. She's a refugee from Eritrea. She didn't speak Norwegian, but she loved being taken pictures of. Somewhere between taking photos of people and inviting them to participate, I find raw material for producing and developing art. I deliberately alternate between photography and participation because somewhere between these two areas is where I find unknown territory. Therein lies the art. It's an open, a new area that provides opportunities for development. By tapping into this area that have no beginning or end, I strive to take full advantage of the social interaction while taking photographs. I'm not concerned about the boundaries between photography and participation. I simply put them next to each other, so this creates a tension, which can be frustrating, but which also serves as a method of creating art. This is refugees in Finland setting up their exhibition in the city's main square. So I will stop share now. And this was a little bit about my work.
Thank you.
Mhm. Emma, check the screen.
Yeah, let's see.
Oi.
Why is it not working? Okay.
We are going to answer the question with visual.
So I think we're going to talk about
Hmm.
time first.
Is
No?
it time, or is it? We have different question. In fact,
several,
we
yeah.
have 3 different questions that we should go. Is it the time? So it the
think
time
so.
question.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was reading wrong, but now it's the right one. And we try to answer with a picture or film and make our
Visual responses. Yeah.
exactly and our dialogue through
Yeah. So I think the first question is yours, Cassie, isn't it? How can we deal with passing time? What is
exactly
time?
what is time and what time is it? I try to play a little bit with words.
And we have some responses for a few moments to those, right?
So
Let's see what we have.
So we can play now with our. But Are we ready for the next question?
Mhm. That's trust.
Mhm.
No.
And this was your question, Brunhild, wasn't it? To do with trust in the
Yeah.
participants. Yeah.
Yeah. How to create trust in the meeting between artist and participant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Or how we create trust in our own works as well.
Yeah. Hmm. Is it your photos, Emma?
This was a project I did at school with a group of students, a street photography project.
Huh? Okay.
So it was teaching them all about street photography, and then we went out and did. We walked to Fotografiska in Stockholm, and on the way we did street photography along the way.
Okay.
But some of them were quite young as grade 4, maybe grade 5. So it's explaining the concepts to them, and then
Yeah.
they used their phones and cameras to do this work, and then the images were fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic, yeah.
Is it like, it almost looked like a little bit large Polaroids, but it's
Yeah,
yeah.
I printed them out. They were such good quality. I just printed them out A4 size, and I wanted to have like a small exhibition for them.
Yeah. Okay.
That's something that's not really done
Hmm.
at school, so they were really excited to see what they'd made actually.
Yeah, great. Did you say 5 years old? That's
No,
nice.
sorry, grade 4s and 5s, so they
Yeah,
were
okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Mm.
Do you both mostly work in like urban contexts in your work? Do you find in cities? Is that where you find your inspiration, or is it not a factor?
It is. I usually do project in rural areas, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, at least in the first years.
Yeah.
Maybe now I'm more in the cities. Yeah.
Do you think does it make a difference to your practice either way? Is it more to do with the communities that live there?
I think maybe it's a bit, I'm not sure if it's easier, but to work in rural areas. Good question. This alternative spaces has been a sub-theme,
Yeah.
to both produce and show art
Yeah.
in alternative spaces. Yeah.
And in the public domain as well. You make almost photographic interventions, I suppose, but exhibitions and things that you're doing in the square in Trondheim and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little
Take it
bit
up.
activism. Yeah, visual activism. Yeah.
And outside the gallery space, I think.
Yeah, mostly that. Yeah.
Is that all three of us then? We mostly work outside. I suppose we present and exhibit sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Kasha, you show your videos.
Yes, it's quite difficult to find out what is inspiring me, because I think it's everything. It's people, but as well as object and situations. And I feel like a sponge which are picking all the information and transforming it.
Yeah. Sponge is good.
Oh,
Yeah.
sponge is good. That's true.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes it's like very strange how we can connect. For example, this water running in the scene.
Yeah.
But I think for me it works very. I like to play like that. What we do now, inspiring each other with these three
Yeah.
different videos, and then we are having dialogue, and this is really. We don't know what can happen, and we didn't train before. We didn't make any rehearsal, so this is live.
Yeah. I was thinking, I've heard that in Australia the water runs the other way around. I'm not sure if it's true.
Actually, I'm thinking that was how bizarre is that? Cultural stereotypes. Yeah.
Shall we take another question?
Should the water run the other way?
Yeah.
Let's do the third question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was mine then, about Kerr.
Yeah.
I think this came from the Instagram takeovers and things like that. I've been talking a lot about Kerr, in that I feel like as an educator and an artist and a parent, and generally as a human being, as a to do with ecology as well, that like how do we care, and how can we in the current conditions? What can we do, and how do we do that? What are the strategies?
How did you say, Emma, that we are not DJ, we are VJ?
DJ, yes. Yeah, I think that suits us. I think we're interested as well in the visuals of how the images speak to each other. Sometimes
Yes,
more
yes.
than, because we talk in meetings, I suppose, and then we talk about presenting these images side by side. And it's interesting to actually for us as well to see how they work and how they come together.
Yeah, it is really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if we're silent, it's because we're interested in what's happening as well. And seeing how the images work together and connection with each other.
Yeah.
It's very interesting for me. I hope the one who are watching us, they feel the same. It's our little bit exhibition. Taking care of.
Like our mini exhibition. It was interesting for me as well with this project. It's the first time I've used time lapse digitally. I normally use it on my SLR. So to use it on my phone and be portable was quite interesting and to play with that idea when it came to time.
Yeah.
And I sat and filmed for about 15 minutes one day to get 18 seconds of footage for time lapse. I was like, okay, yeah, this is a long process, longer than usual. But it was interesting because it was literally, playing with that kind of that imaginative space and the time itself.
Yeah, but it's nice to challenge oneself to do something new, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is maybe not really.
Nice one.
It just makes me smile. Yeah, she's just so happy.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing with the public-private we talked about, the inside-outside practice is trying to find a way to disseminate images about what you do as a parent, maybe, but without the identity or, any image. I'm really careful about not putting any photographs of my daughter online. So for me, that's always a conscious decision to make, is that she's, I suppose, protected. Which is why all of her images are, even this is more than I usually would.
Yeah, okay. But it's interesting you asked about why do we keep different sub-themes separate?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
You asked if they were irrelevant or why
Yeah.
is it like this?
Yeah.
And this connection between them.
Because I think we talked a few times about the different things that we do outside of what we think is our art practice, and to me, they're all part of it. But it's whether we feel comfortable showing that. I suppose exposing that part of us. It's probably more private. It's all kind of a scale to me about what I think. There's also for me, especially recently, is the ethics of photography as well. And we talked about that a little bit in our meetings.
Yeah.
About consent and ethics and things, which is probably something we can talk about again in more detail.
I think we have to leave some time for questions.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So maybe we can slowly close our
finish up. Yeah, of course.
I have the book.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
Yes,
if we have time.
Of course, please do. Yeah, please do.
So we put it like this, maybe.
We can put that one on. Yeah.
And you share the book, please. It would be.
So in the end, I will share a book I did some years ago, where I followed both my brother and my mother during their fight against cancer. So the pictures are from my mother. So I was deeply involved as both a caregiver and a photographer. So again, public, private things. So I used the camera as a way of dealing with this situation, a kind of therapeutic tool, and a way to hold on to each memory. So I share the screen.
Mm.
Okay, so that was it.
The end. Okay, so we wait for Alicia to appear. The presentation is...
Yeah, and we can open it up to questions from, if there are any that people want to ask.
I see there is a few questions. Mhm.
So it's not really the end yet, actually. Thank you, ladies, for the session. I will just have to turn the sound off here. Now I am looking at the Intercult Facebook site now. If there are any questions, we don't have any here, but I had a question myself actually, and there is, you were talking about care, how do we care? But I was also wondering, especially in relation to this context of the residency and taking social engagement online. I mean, I think that's really difficult actually to practice socially engaged art online. But I didn't mention that in my question. I was asking, what do you care about? I mean, does this digital residency change what you care about as artists, perhaps?
I think it has kind of catalyzed it maybe a little bit for me. It like crystallized it. It's helped me put things into not words but visuals and be able to kind of talk about it in a way that I haven't really done in my practice before. So I think there's so many different connections to what all of us do, but it's not something I really show or talk about or raise. I just have like one final image or one final film. But with this project, I've been able to show the process more and show what I care about, and in a much more diverse way, I think. Don't know about Cassie and Brunhild.
I think, I work with documentary, and I work with the world and important topics like migration and social justice. So I think these sessions have given me a space to work with fiction or fantasy in a way, quite the opposite of documentary, so, or more in a visual way, perhaps. So yeah, that's a good thing for me, I think.
But talking about the trust and social media, it's quite like opposite words almost. And I was happy when Brynhild asked us about it, how to create the trust, especially when we are in this residency, when we are somehow separated and we can show whatever as a and create whatever word, and still what is the trust. And we try to talk about it quite much, and then other question appeared, like Emma was explaining. So some questions are impossible to answer almost.
Yeah. I think though, I don't know about you guys, the residency has been wonderfully surprising in that I think we've created a safe space where we talk quite a lot. I don't know about, we said this before, but we kind of come off and we're, really happily surprised about the things we talk about, and we show each other new work, and we kind of, it's become a forum even for the residents themselves to kind of discuss new work in a safe digital space, if we're talking about safe spaces online and digital residencies. Been really important as well, definitely.
I actually wonder where we lost our fifth member. Perhaps too
Person.
safe of a space, Brynhild. Are you not guarding it too much? Isn't Vera asking to
We let
join
Vera
us?
back in. Is she coming back in?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No. I'm just wondering. I think it should work automatically, actually. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could, yeah.
There is no one in the lobby, so.
okay, just wondering.
Oh.
Aha, because you are the host.
Yeah. So, should I make you a host, Alicia?
No, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
Hi, Vera.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi. Sorry for
So
being.
it's okay. Was there any question from the Woven Network page?
There is not a question, but a comment. Give me a second. Yeah, so the comment is like a big thank for interesting observations between everyday life and artistic practice. And also the question, has the time of the pandemic had any positive effect or realization on your daily life or your artistic practice? If so, how?
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah, tough question.
Long question.
I think we talked about it a little bit maybe in the last question about COVID. I don't think there would be so many digital opportunities and so many residencies online that artists and that we've been able to avail of if it wasn't for the pandemic. I'm not sure if there's, as a person who's had COVID twice now, I'm not dropping, but yeah, it's true. You can't get it twice. I think there are any positives that we can find are worthwhile. So I think there's more digital opportunities, and I mean, we would have never connected if this project hadn't come along, digitally anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you, Emma. It's this digital communication platforms opportunities are really great, and we can join webinars and artists all over. So it's really, really fantastic, I think. So,
it's kind of opened up like an international. There's more now, more reach maybe with projects. You could always travel for projects. You could fly or travel, but now.
yeah.
If anything, if there's positives, the digital side of things has opened up, like, global opportunities, across Europe, across worldwide. I think that maybe would have been much more difficult before. People are more accepting now of digital opportunities and residencies and ways to connect online, maybe, than before.
I think maybe the world is changing a bit. I think we will. I don't think we will go back to the way as it was before. I think we will have these opportunities with us,
Yeah.
or I hope so.
Yeah.
And of course, the pandemic has made us think about values, what's important, and how artists can and contribute in the society. What kind of values pops up in this pandemic, and care is one keyword, I think. Caring for each other.
Especially when you can't reach people, you can't see people.
Yeah.
You can see them, but you can't meet them in person. I suppose it's a digital care is a different thing, isn't it? Really, how to do that.
Yeah.
Asha, do you have any comments?
I was thinking that now we understand that maybe we don't have to really travel to Norway or to Denmark to shake a hand. So we can do things together digital, but of course we are human, so we are still missing these opportunities to meet to meet exactly in one place and do things together. But now we learn that it's possible to create and to share and to cooperate. So this is amazing what we learn.
And even use Instagram. Yeah.
I'm personally very happy with your positive approach to the pandemic. But I think that it's, I mean, we're very privileged here in the Nordic countries because these digital opportunities that are also funded, they're not common at all in other places. So it's, I think this is quite a specific, we have a very specific approach to this.
Okay.
For that reason.
You think in Europe or in?
I'm thinking in Europe, yeah. I mean, I'm from Czech Republic, and I don't think there are so many possibilities for artists to take part in as we have here in this situation.
I think we have to start. We have to start then, don't we? Is that what we do? We create connections then where there aren't. That's a call to arms, doesn't it? But a creative one. Yeah.
I think
with the work that we do, if possible.
I think in the photography world there is a lot of Zoom meetings, both in Asia, and they really work well with the platform. They have like book workshops. They physically meet, of course, and then they stream everything online. So my impression is that Zoom is or other platforms are used, but I don't know, of course.
Yeah, depends on the country. We said.
Yeah.
I think I'm more talking, but this is the general problem in the artist world. I'm talking more about paid opportunities to actually do some work that's being evaluated properly online. I think that's digital presence is not being valued on the same level as physical presence, which is already not very highly rewarded for art.
Yeah, it's true. But you don't need to get paid if you love it, isn't that right? If you love it, your passion should be enough to feed you and sustain you. No?
Oh, that's sweet.
Is that not what the impression is? Yeah, I know what you mean. I am being sarcastic, but yeah, that's the. I mean, we are making changes, but that's the old way of doing things, isn't it? Artists do need to eat and get paid. Need to be valued.
Well, at least we are doing something with this in Woven Network Nordics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Were there any more questions on the Woven Network page? I don't know.
This was the only one question, but I have seen that we have a new question from Ivona on Intercourse page.
Oh, I wasn't. I was just chatting away, and I wasn't following the discussion there.
That happens to us all the time in the residency.
Wait, let me check then if there is anything. Yes, there is a question from Ivona. She asks, what is your comment to the role of women in pandemics? Do you feel connected as women artists to what happened? Do you share the experience? So there are basically two questions.
I think they work on different levels, don't they? That kind of covers a few things that we've talked about already. I suppose that, being connected to each other digitally in the pandemic, and also what you mentioned, Alicia, about it depends where you are, I think, in the world. When, as a woman in the pandemic, I think your experience will be different to other people in other countries. Like you said, not all experience of COVID has been universal, depending on, where you are. But in Northern Europe and Scandinavia, I think we have been affected by it in different ways for each of us differently. I feel anyway, I've been affected by it, but then I'm an educator, so we have had to deal with it kind of head on, really. I don't know about Brynhild or Cassia.
We had a local woven project in Trondheim last year, and it actually still runs. And I got an email today from one of the artists, and we haven't seen each other now for a while, maybe since March 8th, I think, on the Women's Day. So she said she missed us. She missed to talk with us or talk together. So I think this we are 7 women in Trondheim. So I'm not sure. I'm just thinking now if the male artists in Trondheim, are they also doing things like this, like small woven projects? I haven't heard of anything, so maybe there's a difference between women and men, and yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was an answer, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's okay also with free reflections on the things that come up. I can see that now we have a couple more appearing here in the chat actually. So one is from Liz Gardiner. She asks, do you think socially engaged art practice can support the raising of profile, both of the women and of the socially engaged artists? Do you think socially engaged art practice can support the raising of profile, both of the women and of the socially engaged artists?
As in sort of marketing the artist or making them known, or
I think yeah, I mean raising of profile, I presume that could be what she means. Yeah.
But of course that's what woman is about in some sense, yeah. Or do I understand the question?
Yeah.
But surely networking develops networking and a possibility of networking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also perhaps addressing certain topics that are important for for women or socially engaged women artists.
I think the topic, the socially engaged element of things, we have to fight our corner maybe a little bit more. I think for those kind of topics that are maybe written off, you know, to do with the domestic or to do with women's experience or to do with that huge spectrum of whatever you might be talking about when you're engaging with people and participants that you talked about, Brynhild, you know. Yeah, I think it's not traditionally associated with high art or anything like that, but I think it's kind of continuing to kind of make that work and talk about those things and you know have an activism element in your work and raise attention to the issues. I think I don't know, that's important in what I do and what I'm trying to do, whether or not it raises my profile, but I think if you're authentic, Brynhild, you talked about it before, if you're in the work for the right reasons and you have a strong feel about it, whether or not it raises your profile is a moot point. Maybe it can, but it's whether that's the reason that you're doing it for. I suppose that's what I'm thinking. What your intention is, maybe. Yeah, you got to just keep going with it and keep making the work and keep trying and hopefully people will see and people will acknowledge and they'll see the issues that you're talking about or the injustices or the social justice element that you're trying to, you know, address. And sometimes that's enough. I don't know. Well, it is for me that people are talking about it or that I get to talk about it and use my own voice, which is is a thing in itself. So I think it's layered, maybe all different layers to that answer.
I think socially engaged art practices, at least in rural areas, are not a part of the art critic scene so much.
Yeah.
I think that's well known. So maybe the new platforms we have can change that a little bit, perhaps.
Yeah,
that would be nice. Yeah.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. There is one other question from Dina, from your fellow artist in digital resident, and she asks, what changed in your practice during the pandemic besides using digital platforms, which I'm also actually interested in hearing.
What changed?
If anything, if nothing changed.
Because of digital platform.
Less physical meetings. That's an obvious answer. Less. For me, I've done all this photo workshops digital, and that's a challenge for physical. I think that's the main thing that has changed for me. Yeah.
I think maybe even an awareness of the small things, you know, the small things that maybe you took for granted before outside of the pandemic. So now you get to pick apart the different pieces of your practice and how you work with people and participants and do projects, and find a way, if you can, a way through to still do what's important to you. I think it's just my thinking about things has changed in terms of not the things I took for granted before in the world and in my artist practice, but things that you have to reconsider maybe. Yeah, ways of working, whether it's physical or digital or with people. You have to prioritize as well what's important. Definitely.
But there is something happening with the time also, with the digital platforms, because it's like kind of illusion that we have more time for ourselves, but in fact this is like opposite. this has changed quite much.
Yeah. And another thing.
Sorry, I just want to add, you also have been working with time in your, obviously that has been one of your topics today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I found really interesting when Emma, I think it was you, when you were saying how you were recording that time lapse.
Yeah. It does, yeah.
That's interesting to compare then how long you spend something on in physical world, and then it takes 15 seconds in the digital realm.
Yeah, and it's, you know, the scientific side is quite interesting, you know, like the theory of relativity, like when you're invested in something and you can spend hours doing it and not notice, and when it's something you don't enjoy as much and it takes forever, you know, really simple things, especially we talked about care in different ways, and time to me is important in that. The time that I teach is time away from practice sometimes, and I want to be doing my artist practice, and so it's a constant balance between where you put your energies, where you put your time. But yeah, that's like a physical representation, isn't it? The time lapse makes it really simple to see.
I interrupted you before Brynhild, so sorry.
No, it's okay. I was thinking about this immaterial, or this, you know, the invisible things that are really important in participation. You know, the patience, in the meetings between the artists and participants. It could be like very deep human feelings, body language and things like that. That's more difficult, of course, through Zoom. Or that's an important part of the practice, social practice.
I'm just checking if there are any other questions here. By the way, what is next? Do you already know what will happen in the next woven session?
We have a few ideas, I think, but we'll talk about it. Yeah, we're not that we're non-committal, but I think there's so much that we can pick apart that we have to be able to do one whole session on something that we're thinking about, you know. And we also have to chat to Dina and see what she wants to do. I'm sure she's, you know, wants to do something for the next session too. So yeah, but I've been thinking a lot about photography and ethics and doing a lot of reading and research. So it seems really important. But whether that'll tie in with the woven session is something else. We've chatted about it a little bit, but yeah, we'll see.
Looking forward to seeing what comes out of the thoughts.
Yeah, we'll try and be a little more descriptive next time in our, so it's not so abstract for you, maybe in the information we send through. I thought that was pretty cool.
I'm actually, for me, it's interesting to also get to see, to compare the what you sent prior and then how it actually looks in the real life.
Yeah.
But I was it was interesting also to see. Liz was writing when you were having one of these quiet moments when it was just videos and some mouse clicking, and she was saying if there is any sound actually, and then after a couple of minutes you started talking. So actually that's not so common that you would have sorry, I have echo here, that you would have silent Zoom videos without any, it makes people feel uncomfortable to sort of
It does.
I think so, to watch that online, because they don't know if there's a problem with the technology or if it's actually an intention human.
I think as well, and we talked about it last session, I think, and when you come in with different disciplines and different backgrounds to trying something new on a digital format, so as a photographer and starting to make films, I think less about soundtracks and more about visuals. So I wanted to just have less sound, and then next time maybe I'll experiment a bit more. But Cassia probably comes in always thinking about soundtracks and the music that's going to be in the background and things like that. I think it's different approaches and different ways of doing things have different results, I suppose. Yeah, but it is uncomfortable sometimes, the silence.
But somehow I think like we want to break the rules of the webinar because it seems like everybody's talking all the time, so we try to find other solution. And that's why we are experimenting, and it's really interesting for us. I hope the one who are watching feel comfortable.
Yeah. I take that as positive feedback, actually, that it maybe wasn't intended that way, but that actually it was.
No, it was.
It was noticeable. Yeah. Because it was intentional.
Audience,
Yeah.
You are disrupting their peace.
And we're so far away. That's amazing, isn't it? In Scotland, they can feel uncomfortable. Yeah. And not in a bad way, but yeah. No, I think it's important. Like Cassia said, we came into this with ways to, finding different ways to work on this platform. So, and different ways to do that. That's important still, really important.
Well, Liz is listening to us and she commented, yes, great. You smashed the Zoom sound barrier.
Thank you, Liz. Yeah. Hopefully we didn't make her too uncomfortable, but yeah, at least it wasn't a tech fault. But yeah, it's interesting that it's noticeable, I think, and I think that's the thing that's fascinating. Yeah.
I don't have any more questions here, and Vera, you don't have any on your side? No one's. I think we can slowly wrap it up, unless you would like to add anything to your session today.
No, I think we can.
If those of you who are watching, if you would like to find out more about the artists or about the project, you can check the information on our social media or the website. Everything is linked in the event of the session, and also you will just find it on our Facebook pages. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, the artists. Thank you, those who asked questions in the chat. And thank you to the audience, of course, and to Vera, who has helped us greatly with the stream. I hope to see you.
Thank you, Vera.
I haven't seen the viewers, but I hope that you will participate again next time in our next event. Have a nice evening, everyone. It was really nice to see you.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.